welcome to our class today on Supraweb One-on-One. I am your co-host, Anthony. Just a little bit of who I am for those of you who don't know who I am. My name is Anthony. I work here at Orange County Realtors. Been here now 19 years. Started off in the MLS department, so I know guaranteed I'll speak to everybody regarding rules and regulations and violations and all that fun stuff. What we're also involved with is our outreach program. Our outreach program is designed to typically come out to your office, but right now, because of COVID, you gotta love that. We're giving webinar training, and hopefully by next year, we'll be giving hybrid training for you. And what that allows us to do is to give training at your offices. So not only do we train on MLS, how to run searches, how to modify listings, create CMAs, all that fun stuff, but we also give training on zip forms. Leo Loera, who is our co-host today and trainer today on Supraweb, he and I are both zip forms certified trainers. So, we'll show you how, on the basics of creating a transaction, digitally signing the transaction, and of course, adding in all the advanced tools that zip forms has to offer to make your lives that much easier. And of course, we both love training on tech and your tools. So with that said, today's trainer on Supra is Leo Loera. Leo, can you tell our audience just a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Leo Loera. I'm with the Orange County Realtors. I've been with the association since 2007. So that's roughly, whoa, I just lost light here. I've been with the association since 2007. So that's 14 and a half years. So here I am. I started off in membership and then progressed from membership over to becoming the Super Key Specialist. And now I do Super Key Specialist membership. And I'm also a trainer for various topics.
Awesome. Well, today, Leo is going to go over the basics of Supra and Supraweb. We're not going to necessarily show you how to use the key, I don't think. Are we, Leo?
I'm just going to touch on different bases. It's going to be like when we build a pyramid, we start with a large base of knowledge and then work upward till we hit Supraweb.
Excellent. So in the next 45 minutes to an hour, we're going to open that, let Leo instruct you, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A if anybody's got any questions. With that said, Leo, take it away.
All right, let's go and start my sharing of my beautiful screen of knowledge. Supra, the basics and more. And this is put together by myself and with a lot of help from other individuals, including my dear friends at Supra. So the next thing I want to talk about is the basics and more. So who can get access to the Supra Key service? What do I need to get started? How does all of the Supra stuff work? Bluetooth location services. The next topic will be SSO. What does that mean? And Supraweb, is it necessary? And then Q&A at the very end. So jumping right into it. Right now, currently, only those individuals that can get access to the Supra Key service will be the real estate broker with an active CRMLS account with us, a real estate salesperson with an active CRMLS account with us, and also an appraiser with an active CRMLS account with us. No assistants, no affiliate members, and no other non-members can gain access to our Supra Key service. The feeling is that this keeps the system secure, and that way it keeps everyone in check, because everyone that has the key service has been bonded in some way or another. So the first thing will be the Supra Key. What do you need to get started? So we all have to know that we're walking around with our cell phones and iPads and tablets, and that's what are the basic tools we're going to need for the Supra Key service. So I put this together, and then it shows you that at the very minimum, you're going to need either an Android device or an Apple iOS, meaning iPhone or iPad. They both have to have Bluetooth technology on it. Location services have to be on. For Apples, it's going to be Apple iOS 12 or newer. For Android, it's going to be the operating system 8 or newer. Both have to have access to cell phone data plans or Wi-Fi. And then, of course, in this screen, it gives you suggestions of different phones, but you don't have to necessarily just choose those phones. A multitude of different phones from Android will work with this system. So The super keys work, like I just said, on multiple devices. Um, it tells you that here that I want to make sure that I point out Bluetooth and location services have to be on. From time to time, I do get calls from agents who are saying, I'm having problems using the key service, not allowing me to use it. And I'm like, well, is your Bluetooth on? Is your location services on? And sometimes it's not. So we want to make sure that I communicate that to you, that both of those have to be on in order for the key service to work. Now, the way the phone system, the way the key service works, it has to update at least once before you use it. Typically, it updates between midnight and 6 in the morning. And we do that via Wi-Fi usually. But if you don't have Wi-Fi, if you have cell phone service, yes, you just press update. And from that point forward until the end of the day, you can open up lock boxes, even in areas where there's no cell phone service. Years ago, we tried this out in an underground garage 2 floors down. So of course there was concrete and rebar, and there's no signal down there, no cell phone service, but yet I was still able to access the lock boxes because I had updated a few hours earlier. And then from there, we drove all the way out to the middle of the canyon area, where it was just the closest thing near us was just, besides animals and plant life, was just this little monastery. And of course, the monastery did not have Wi-Fi at that time, and there was no signal. And once again, I was able to demonstrate, and I showed it on a video long ago, that I was able to open up a lockbox right there in the middle of nowhere. So you see that you can be able to use the super key service even when you have no signal, as long as it's been updated prior to you driving out to go check out the properties. Now, some people start thinking, okay, so I have all these lock boxes. Do the lock boxes communicate up to Supra as to who's been going in and out of the property? No. The Supra lock boxes do not have the capability to send out signal to communicate to Supra. It's our cell phones that do that. So once our cell phone uses a lockbox, then if it's still on, the key application is still on, then it can be able to transmit that information, usually within 15 minutes. A lot of agents, as soon as they have access to lockbox, they close it up. And then later on that day, or perhaps the next morning, their device will be able to communicate to Supra as to any showings that they did. Now, if you allow the Super eKey application to update on its own, or you press the update icon on the bottom of the screen, then that way the listing agent will have that information showing that you're there. Or if you access the lockbox when you enter it and when you exit it, it gives the listing agent an idea as to that you've left the property. And that way the reports that are generated by the listing agent are very accurate. So once again, updating your Super key, your Super eKey, makes things a little bit easier for everyone. And how do you get a Super eKey account? Well, you just have, if you have an account with us, you just contact us and we can send the documentation over to you for electronic signature. And then we can discuss how to take payment at that time. Currently, payment's $50 plus tax, and then it's $15.69 a month, but that can change from year to year. So we're hammering it home again. The mobile device has to use the Bluetooth technology to communicate to the lockbox. The eKey needs location services for multiple reasons, more than just saying where you're at a certain time. It uses it to help the listing agent know that you're still there at the property. It helps assign a lockbox to an active listing, and there's a lot of other things as well. The eKey service needs to be updated daily, like I just said. The reason why it does that, it first sends a signal out to Supra, and it needs to verify that your Supra account is in good standing. And then also it double checks that your MLS account is active. In order for you to have the Super Key service, you have to have an active MLS account with us. If the MLS account is turned off for whatever reason, maybe due to non-payment, or you haven't transferred out of the old office and the old office notified us that you're no longer with them, then yes, your key service would be disabled as well. You'll still be charged the monthly rate, but the key service won't do anything further than just use the flashlight feature, unfortunately. So it's important that you notify us of any changes that you make. And if you have any billing issues, you can pay the billing either through the Supraweb account, which I'll talk about in just a moment, or you can pay it through the Super eKey application, or you can call us, or you can call up Supra. So you have a number of different choices to be able to take care of any outstanding invoices. You can communicate any activity from, by the way, this update also can communicate any activity from the E key that was missed from the prior update. So if the prior update was in yesterday morning, and then for whatever reason, your phone did not transmit that you've accessed lockboxes yesterday evening or afternoon, then the next morning it will send out the information over to Supra, or whenever it does its update, and notify Supra of any activity you had on the key service. It will send the notifications also. You'll also receive notifications to get feedback reminders. Also, you'll get information as to who's accessed your lockbox if you're representing a seller. And then also one last thing, it confirms that the device you're using, cell phone or a tablet, has the compatible E-key application, because in some rare cases, it's going to disable it. So it will make you go to your app store if you're using an Apple phone or an iPad, or if you're using the Android, you have to go to the Play Store. If there's any updates that haven't been automatically downloaded, you have to manually download it. So just want you to be aware of that. So how does this work? So here is a kind of a layout of the Super E-key application. So our icons, the biggest icon you're going to see on the bottom half of the screen is the obtain key feature. That's going to allow you to access, to get the key out of the lockbox. Now, the reason why it's designed that way, it allows access for a right-hander or a left-hander to use their thumb to access it. It was designed much differently, and there were complaints about it, so they redesigned it this way to make it easier for the user. And then you see on the screen that there's an Apple Watch on there. Yes, you can use the Apple Watch. I have an Apple Watch as well. And the Apple Watch has the ability to work in conjunction with the cell phone to open up the lockbox. It's an accessory item. Even if it has the cell phone technology in it, it's still classified as an accessory item. So it won't work on its own unless you have your cell phone with you, because the cell phone can hold more data than the little Apple Watch. So there is information on Supra's website to show you how to use it. For Android users, I'm really sorry, but that feature is not available yet at this time. From what I've been told from Supra, they're still working on it. So stay tuned. And then also we want to let you know that we offer two different key service levels. One is the basic and the other one's a professional. Unfortunately, right now, because of some restrictions between CRMLS and Supra, there's not a lot of features that are available on the professional service that's advertised nationwide. So that is the reason why most agents stick with the basic service. So that's an example right there on the screen on the left-hand side is an example of a Supra lockbox. Just hanging on to a doorknob. Most of the time that you're going to find lockbox will be attached to a doorknob, maybe to a rail leading up to the doorway. Sometimes you'll even find the lockbox attached to a water line. Please don't attach the lockbox to a gas line. If the lockbox were to malfunction for any reason, you're gonna have to find a way to cut it off with some bolt cutters. It's really difficult to do so because they use special alloys to keep it hardy, but please don't attach it to anything that's gonna cause, it's gonna create a bigger problem than it should be. So in our area, we use the Supra iBox BTLEs. I recommend choosing the first key. I recommend choosing the desired. I recommend choosing the E-key, opening of the E-key application first. I'm sorry, I miswrote that. The E-key application first before you touch the lockbox. After you open up the E-key application on your phone, you would choose the desired function, and then you go up to the lockbox and do a quick push. That quick push turns on the Bluetooth of the lockbox, and you'll know because it'll be blinking red, indicating it's sending a signal right back to you. So as long as you're close to that lockbox, within 30 feet, then those two will talk to each other, and then all this has to be done within 20 seconds. And then when it finishes communicating, it'll display new information on your phone, indicating that it has done the function. Like obtain the key, it'll say success. If you were to remove the shackle, it'll say that it'll show you all the information to remove the shackle. So that'd be an example of it. So let me tell you more about it. So as I said already, the lockbox and your phone have to be within 30 feet of each other. So there's no more pointing your phone at the lockbox. You don't have to do that anymore. That was old technology using this technology of infrared technology, similar to the remote control your TV set. You have to point and shoot. No, we don't have to do that anymore. It works similar to, if you think about it, like a radio wave. It transmits data all the way around you, so that way it will pick up another Bluetooth device. So we have seen these lock boxes. They have a built-in lithium battery, and these batteries last up to 8 years and can handle weather extremes. They're in cold weather environments. They're also in the hot weather of Arizona, and they're made of also strong alloys. I had talked about that before, and they resist tampering. And one of the demonstrations they had long ago from Supra is that they actually shot a bullet into one of them, and it didn't shatter. It made it useless, however, but it did not come apart and it did not rupture it, so that way it was useless after being shot. So just letting you know, this is a very strong alloy that's in this lockbox, and that's the reason why that they're a little bit pricier than your average lockbox that you would find at a local hardware store. One thing I also point out about the lockbox, they don't have any built-in GPS. So they're not going to be, there's not a way to find the lockboxes if they're misplaced, but they can store up to the last 100 entries. So we have the ability from Supra to be able to pull information to see who's been going in and out based on the information sent out by the Supra key users. But in case you're wondering, okay, well, what if there's a backup? No problem. You go right up to the lockbox and can pull the information straight from your phone. Yeah, using your phone to be able to pull that information right from the lockbox. And you're thinking, okay, so how big is the key container? Well, the key container can hold up to 5 keys or 2 access cards. So the access cards would be like something for a garage or maybe an access area for the community. So you can have that information, you can have that within the eKey application, eKey lockbox. Excuse me, the Supra iBox BTLEs. Our older lockbox from the prior generation was only able to hold 2 keys and no access card. So this is a big jump from the prior one. So you're asking yourself, now, where can I be able to access the lockboxes? Well, once you get the key service from us, you can access it throughout most of Southern California. Now, I drew it freehand of the areas that you can be able to access it. Those areas in blue, which covers portions of Ventura County, LA County, most of San Bernardino County, most of Riverside County, and all of Orange County. You can access lockboxes in those areas without doing a thing. That's because of our previous data shares with our MLS service that we use and the current MLS service that we use, CRMLS. The exceptions would be the San Diego County. They don't data share with us. Excuse me, they use a different key service, even though they do a data share with us. They use a key service called SentryLock. Totally different system, not compatible. And unfortunately, you would have to contact San Diego MLS or North San Diego County Association Realtors, or perhaps Pacific Southwest, to see what the cost would be to get the key service through them. There's paperwork involved as well. But the great thing is you don't have to join their board, you just have to pay for the key service. And it works on a Bluetooth technology as well. So in case you're wondering like, oh, is this something, a big tool or something I have to carry with me? No, it's an application you would take with you on your phone.
Hey,
Those areas,
Leo.
yes.
Sorry, we have a question here. So where would somebody access this map or these areas to verify if their key will work or not?
Well, I wish I could take credit for this particular map, but this map came from crmls.org. CRMLS has information about the coverage area, and this was one of them. I just took a snapshot of it and then I circled it around you. I circled that area for you. The dark blue areas are those that are CRMLS associations, and those that are in a lighter blue are those that are data sharing with us. For example, the MLS, formerly known as the Claw, combined LA Westside, they data share with us. Palm Springs, I believe, also uses their software, so they data share with us. The lighter blue up further north, that's a reciprocal access. So they have access to seeing our data, but they have to log in to get access to our data. and vice versa. And then there's a little light blue little island off the map. That's actually Honolulu. So you can be able to see MLS data there. But honestly, as agents, you're licensed to work in California only. If you wanted to be able to practice real estate in Hawaii, you want to contact their board and find out what it will take to be able to have access to get a real estate license there. So once again, this whole map came from crmls.org. One thing to point out is the yellow area within the map. That yellow area is the mountain areas of Big Bear and Lake Arrowhead. They currently don't data share with us, but however, a lot of other CRMLS users around that area input listings into that area, and we can see those listings, but we cannot see the listings from the Big Bear and Rim of the World, they call it. So the Rim of the World and Big Bear do not data share with us. And unfortunately, so it's when you walk up to a property over there, sometimes you'll see two lock boxes, one for CRMLS users and the other one is for the mountain regions up there to be able to use it. So just want to give you a heads up on that in case you want to take care of any clients up there. And also when we look at further north, if you have to take care of clients in, say Fresno or those areas, what you'll want to do is you have to be comfortable with the word co-op or reciprocate. So you'll have to contact those associations that govern that area to find out if there's any costs involved, any paperwork involved, any fees involved to be able to have your key to work in that area. Sometimes it's an easy fix, sometimes it's more involved. So you'll have to contact them for assistance. So here we are. So Supraweb. Supraweb is the agent website that is available to all super key holders like yourself. Now, real estate agents use Supraweb to help manage their listings and showing information. Valuable showing data is accessible through Supraweb, so that way agents can create reports for their clients, send updates about particular listing agents who recently showed the listing, or provide showing feedback, which is valuable to the listing agent. Agents may use Supraweb to choose to receive automatic email notifications, like showing alerts, and when a showing occurs at their listing. And lastly, Supraweb will allow key holders to update billing information. So that way you have an option rather than just doing it through the app or rather than staying on hold to get a hold of someone, you can do it through Supraweb. So the first big topic related to Supraweb is the SSO. What's that? The SSO is the single sign-on. It's an acronym that Supra created. So it's the first step to access the many benefits offered to you by Supraweb. All key holders accessing Supraweb for the first time will need to create a user ID and password. After choosing the Supraweb orange tile, you'll need to click the button register and thereafter follow the cues to set up your SSO. Now, if you're wondering like, okay, so what are the restrictions for the password? Or what are the restrictions for the user ID? Here it is. So, of course, it's only available to those who have the key service. The user ID can be between 3 characters and is a maximum of 60 characters. You can put an email address in there if you want to. You can put dots, you can put underscore, you can put the @ symbol as a part of your user ID. That's the only special characters you can use. You don't have to use special characters, but you can if you wish. But the user ID has to start with a letter. Cannot start with special character, and that's an example of the highlighted ones I'm showing you. The password are case sensitive and must be at least 8 characters long. It has to start with a letter and it has to have at least 1 number in it. So this is very important. So it has to start with a letter and it has to have at least 1 number in it. That's your password. And all of this, once again, is something that you create. We don't create it for you. So in the future, if you forget the user ID and password, there's a link to click to be able to retrieve that information. We, unfortunately, are not going to have access to that information. Supra, on the other hand, will have access to your user ID, but not your password. They'll recommend for you to click the link to create a new password, or they will generate a fictitious password to use at that moment, one-time use only, and then you have to create a new password. The first time you log in with Supraweb, under using the new user ID and the password, you're going to be have to enter in your eKey show number. Now that can be found within the eKey application at the very top of the screen, or within this on the bottom right where it says more. There's a side panel that opens up. choose about the E key, and then it will display information about your Supra E key right there, including the show number and the toll-free number to contact Supra in case you have any problems. Also, with the first time when you log into Supraweb, you're going to need the 4-digit PIN number that you use to obtain the key out of the lockbox. And you have to identify which association assigned you the Supra Key service. So in your case, if you're with our association, then you're going to choose our association, the Orange County Realtors. So look for CA, short for California, dash, and then look for the Orange County Realtors. And then after that, you're going to be able to log in and be able to generate reports and take advantage of Supraweb, which we'll talk about in just a moment. The Supra eKey mobile app also has a modified version of Supraweb. So it has fewer capabilities. So in case you're wanting to check it out, go ahead and do so. But we're going to be talking about the desktop version in this webinar. So things you can do with Supraweb. So is it necessary? You can obtain an authorization or update code for the eKey. So sometimes when we switch phones, it happens. We have to switch phones because it gets obsolete. It runs on 3G technology, and those are going, is already phased out. 4G, et cetera, is going away. So as we progress, you're going to notice that the Supra, you have to get an authorization code to enable the new device to work. So that's it's an easy fix. So you simply just go to Supraweb, and then you can generate the authorization number. It's good for that day only. Then you can be able to swap out for a new phone. You can download the eKey application on that new phone, and then you can enter in that new authorization into that key service or into that app, and it'll work immediately. There's no long delay. It works immediately. Another thing that's great about Supraweb is that it can identify a key holder based on the serial number that shows up in your report. So if you get the notification on your phone saying, oh, somebody's entered my my listing, not a problem. You have the serial number right there. Also within the app, you can look through Supraweb to find out who's been going in and out of it. Not a problem. You can manage a key box inventory and listing information so that way you can see what lockboxes you have and what lockboxes have been assigned to what listings. You can view, email, schedule activity reports. We'll talk about that in a moment. You can set up showing notifications. You can view, and you can also change your 4-digit PIN number. You can do it in the eKey application. But you can also do it through the app in case for some reason you feel like it's been compromised. So what if you gives that nice little peace of mind, they can do it anytime. Excuse me, and then you can also manage your bill through the Supra eKey app or Supraweb. Sorry, my apologies. What you cannot do with Supraweb is you cannot change the access time to the lockboxes. Sorry. So what you can do with what you cannot do is you cannot change access times. You cannot add or activate the call before showing code, the CBS code. You would actually have to go to the lockbox to be able to make those changes happen. If in some cases we are able to change that information on your behalf if you contact us, because we have a different website that we go through, but that only applies to some lockboxes, not to all of them. So do reach out to us to see if we can be able to do that for you. One thing you cannot do through Supraweb is to cancel your key service and reactivate it. You'll have to contact us to make that happen. Or you cancel the key service, you can simply just contact Supra as well. You can cancel it anytime, but I want to let you know that if when you want it reactivated, you may have to pay an activation fee, and there's documentation we have to send out to you to activate the account again. One big thing that people ask about is, can Supraweb find my missing lockboxes? No, it can't. What you can do with Supraweb is to generate reports up to 6 months as to who's been going in out of that lockbox, and perhaps you can contact that person to see when the last time that they've accessed that lockbox. So that will help, but it won't truly give you a GPS coordinates of where that lockbox will be at. So here's kind of the layout of Supraweb. So when you first go into Supraweb, and I'll log in as Supraweb in just a moment, the first thing you're going to see is the dashboard. I know, CRMLS, we have a dashboard. Zip Forms, we have a dashboard. everybody has a dashboard. So Supraweb also has a dashboard. So they show you the top menu bars right there. Starts with home, listings, reports, settings, billing, and support. Support, by the way, is a lot of great information to look at to help you use the key service. And I pulled a lot of information straight from support. So in case you need to like a refresher or look deeper into Supra, please take a look at support. They could be able to help you a lot. On the far left is going to be the quick links. The quick links will give you those things we just kind of talked about, the authorization code, but you can also create an update code. There have been some rare cases where for some reason cell phones could update through the Wi-Fi or through the cell phone service. So they would contact us, or you go through Supraweb to get a special one-day update code. That update code will work for the entire day, and that's it. You don't have to worry about it. So that's something to know, but honestly, you're not going to use it all that often. Identify key holder, we already talked about that. You would enter in the key number that appeared on that, either the application or through the message that you got. Authorization code, we already talked about that. The authorization code is a mixture of letters and numbers, uppercase and lowercase does not matter for this. You can change your PIN, e-key alerts. E-key alerts is a nice function that we have enabled for our e-key users, because what you would do is once you click e-key alerts, it'll allow you to choose up to 3 individuals that can be notified if you feel like you're in an uncomfortable position, you want someone to check up on you. Basically, it's a way to press a button. It's an alert button on your e-key application. Hold it down for 5 seconds, and that will notify whoever you've chosen to contact you immediately. You write up the skit for it, so you could just write something simple as, "Hi, this is Leo. Can you give me a call at your earliest convenience?" Period. That's it. Nothing further. That way, that person will contact you. It could be something like, you can fake that you have to leave early because there's an emergency, or you can simply just put down a message saying, or you can use it to communicate back and forth with a co-listing agent. So it's a great tool to use. I recommend take advantage of it. It's free for with your Super Key service. And then also add key box. If you're borrowing a lockbox from someone to represent a seller, this is how you would add a key box to your inventory without changing the inventory that we see on our hand. People can share lockboxes, and that's okay with us. But if a lockbox becomes defective or there's a dispute about the lockbox, we have the information on our end to see who is the actual owner of the lockbox. So, but add key box, you can definitely add it there. And then there's assign a listing to a lockbox as well. Also, dashboard date range. So typically you can change it to whatever you want. You can change it to 6 months if you wanted to. By default, it's done at 7 days. So you can, I usually have it just at 7 days. And then you can also adjust the feedback reminders as well. You can do that all from the dashboard. That was a mouthful. So we talked on the menu bar. The menu bar has home, returns the main page, the listings, so that we can see lockboxes that are assigned to listings, reports. We can generate reports of who's been going in out of lockboxes, and also on the other side, what properties were visited by your key service. We can take a look at settings, and we can take a look of the Super E-key service, Super Web service, and then also billing, and then support if you need further assistance. So for starters, if we want to start off by making sure that any information that you send out to clients, to other agents, has your information on there. We do the same thing with zip forms. We want to make sure that the signature field has your name, who you work for, your DRE license number, and your contact information, because you're communicating back and forth typically with agents. So if there's a question or there's a concern, it's easy to recognize who the person is that they need to get a hold of. And it's a great idea to include a photo as well. So I wrote down that you do want to include a photo, and make sure you do include your DRE license number, because this is a way of corresponding with individuals, including clients, and they have to be aware what your license is. And by the way, that those steps. This whole thing is being recorded, so that way you can be able to watch it over and over again in case you're watching the live version of this. The next step is just looking at the dashboard. So I cut out a piece of the dashboard to show you what the main portion is. So we see that this is the time frame that we chose, and then we chose also from November 2nd, 2020 to February 20th, 2021. That's the time frame that we chose. You can change it to something different if you wanted to. You can see that there's only 5 showings that are here. And then there's a feedback. We have no feedback at this time. And then I can also adjust the feedback reminders. Now those little house icons are telling me as the selling agent, like, hey, you need to assign those listings to an MLS number. So I can do that, but I want to only do that if the listing is active in MLS. If the listing is not active in MLS, you're not going to be able to, you may create more errors than you need to. So let's just put it that way. You can add the lockbox to a listing with a Super eKey application. You can do it straight in CRMLS, but I like to do it here in Supraweb because you have more control. And ultimately, this is where the data is at. So you can adjust the data here through Supraweb. Next step. Okay, so we got tips. So under the listing information, this displays all the lockboxes assigned to listings. So under listing information, so we have listings. If you click that, this will show you just lockboxes that are assigned to listings and nothing else. And you can see that in this example, we have a MLS number, a lockbox show number, which appears on the side of the lockbox. So if you had a lockbox, you would see it's on the side. There we go. Got some light right here. And it shows you the address that was auto-populated from CRMLS, but if you feel like it's taking too long, you can automatically add that in there if you wanted to. I feel that it's easier to add that information in there if I'm going to immediately place that lockbox on a property. So that's what I would do. That's what I would recommend. And then these little different icons that you could take a look at. One of the icons are to showing activity. You can email the information out to showing agents. So for example, if a listing fell out of escrow, then you can email all the showing agents that have access to that lockbox that, hey, this is out of escrow, things fell through, it's available. How motivated is your buyer to take a look at this property once again? So it's a great tool to use because you already have a database of individuals that already took a look at it and say, maybe perhaps somebody else would want to buy this property because whoever wanted to do it, so couldn't do so. And then there's listing details, and then there's an icon that says grant non-member access. Now, we don't have this in our area. There's other outside of Southern California. There's a tool that allows non-members to have access to the Super Key service, but because of the rules and regulations of our CRMLS, we don't do this. So this could be just disregarded. But I just want to let you know that in case the word non-member access comes up, it's not available here in Southern California. And last but not least, in the key boxes, you can, under actions, you can take a look at actions. You can add a key box there. And we talked about that already, how to add a key box. You'll need the show number of the lockbox, of course, on the side of it. But you're also going to need the 4-digit shackle code programmed into the lockbox. And you have to get that from the individuals letting you borrow that lockbox. So that's one thing. If you already bought it and it doesn't show up automatically in your inventory, you can call us and we can be able to assist you with that and provide you with a 4-digit shackle code. So we take a look at Supraweb now, a little bit of information. So digging deeper into the key box information. So it displays that in this example, there's not an MLS number assigned to it. There's no address assigned to it, as you see. Listing date, January 22nd, 2019. No client, nothing. So, and then the access times are there. Now, one thing to point out about the access time, it's Pacific Standard Time. In the month of November, like we are right now, we are in Pacific Standard Time. So what our watches show will reflect the same time there. But coming in when Pacific Daylight Savings Time starts in March, I believe, then you'll have to remember to push it 1 hour forward. So if it shows 6:30 a.m. to 6:15 p.m., it's really 7:30 a.m. to 7:15 p.m. when daylight savings times begins. So just remember that. Unfortunately, the technology that Supra has in those lockboxes does not automatically adjust because there's a couple of states that don't have daylight savings times. That throws everything off. Sorry. And of course, there's a lot of there's other things there. Oh, by the way, the showing notifications for individual key box, I say check mark that. Even though I'm going to have you do it in settings, if you check mark that, it's just double making sure that you're going to be fine getting notifications. In fact, if you click the box that says showing notifications and check mark that box, you can have more than one person receive those notifications. So if a co-listing agent or someone else that you want to have them keep track of the showings, yeah, that's a great example that you can do for this particular lockbox. On the right side, it'll be the update the listing MLS. So once you click the box that says change MLS, then you can enter in the MLS listing ID and then you click assign. So that will auto-populate the information from MLS into the Supraweb. But I would say, don't wait. Just input the address. And if you have the photo attached to the computer, just upload it right into it. So that way, if someone wants to see it, they have the information right there and then, rather than waiting much later, because some agents will sometimes look at something and they don't see an image, they'll just move on, not knowing that this was the house of their client's dreams that they're missing out on. So make sure that you input the address as well as the image from that listing. So here we are. So we have a couple of choices for creating reports. We can create a showing report or creating a key activity report. So the differences are, when I'm doing a showing report, I want to find out who's been going in and out of my lockbox. How many agents, how many have gone through this week, this month, etc. You can pull up as far back as 6 months if you wanted to. If you need to go further than that, and hopefully the listing's not that old, but if you have to, you can just contact Supra and they can give you that information. On the other hand, you can create a key activity showing report. Oops. You can create a key activity report, and that key activity, it's kind of hard to see. The key activity will allow you to be able to see what properties you visited with your key service. That comes in handy because if you're walking around with a client from house to house to house to house to house, and then that client asks you 2 weeks later, what about that house we saw with the red door, the brick fence, and the water fountain in the back? And then it had that nice oak tree in the front. And you're like, oh my gosh, we visited maybe 16 properties in 2 weeks. There's no way I'm going to memorize this. The key activity report is going to help you. By looking at the key activity report, you can look at the properties you visited. And if our listing agents are putting in photos, that photo, then they're going to make it easier on your life to see, oh yeah, that's the house. I see that oak tree. There's the red door. So that's a great tool to use to help you keep track of what properties you want to revisit again in the future. And by the way, all this that we've talked about comes with the Supra Key service. There's nothing you're going to pay additional. So the monthly fee that you pay for the key service includes all this. So on the left side is the showing report. On the right side is the key activity report. So once again, the left side is who's been going in and out of my lockbox. On the right side is what properties I visited with my key. So both reports allow you to set date ranges going back as far as 6 months ago. Also, both can be exported to a CSV, a spreadsheet, to allow additional editing. So if you were going to send this information out to your client, you can do so, but I would recommend do it as a spreadsheet first. Take out the data that your client doesn't really need to know, and then you can send the information over to your client. They just need to show, I'm guessing they just need to see the activity of who's been going out of the lockbox. That's it. And then that big old red arrow right there, that's notice the showing report provides additional choices that may or may not be included with the generate report, the generate report that automatically kicks in. So you can make choices. You can showing the showing agents if you wanted to. You can include the feedback if you wanted to, but you can uncheck mark those boxes and you don't have to do so. So that'd be just a little bit less data to look at. So I generated I generated my own showing report to show you an example of what it looks like. So if we look on the far left column, it shows the timed access, the dates, and then the time access from what time to what time. And then second column is listing ID. I don't have any listings. I have demo lockboxes, so I have no listing ID, but you would have the lockbox assigned to a listing. And the next spot would be the address. So yeah, it's kind of tiny for the address, but that's how where they put it. So that'll be the address that you've uploaded into that particular listing. And it's also another way of just double checking that you have the right listing. Sometimes when you use the Super E-Key application on your phone and assign the lockbox that way, sometimes you'll put in the numbers of the address when you assign the lockbox to a listing, but then what happens is, it pulls a listing outside of our area because we didn't realize that our lockbox is not active, or perhaps it's not in a close proximity to us. For example, we had an agent who had a listing in Chino, California. And they were selling that property, but then they were inland and were trying to use the E-Key application to assign a lockbox out there. And what happened? They assigned that lockbox to a listing in Linwood, which is in close to Los Angeles City. So with traffic, a good hour and a half, 2 hours away. So obviously that was a huge error. They were perplexed, but I knew that they had used the Super E-Key far away from that house. That's why they picked up the wrong information. So it's important when you assign a lockbox, either use the listing ID of the property or be in close proximity to that property when you assign it. So that's one thing to know. Also, I've blurred out some of the information of the agents who have visited my lockbox, but it shows you who the individuals are, their phone numbers, their email addresses, and what offices they're with. So if you need to correspond with them, you had questions, how motivated are their buyer, you can be able to do so using this report. And it provides an extra peace of mind for your homeowner too. Your homeowner's concerned who's been going in and out. You can tell them, I can keep track of who's been going in and out of the lockbox because the Supraweb technology allows them to keep track who's been going in and out. And you can allow listings to follow up with showing agents with you can allow agents to follow up with showing agents experience, and you can give them, they can provide feedback, give information. So in the right column is the feedback. They can provide feedback, give you information. One thing I do want to point out though, on the far left column is the date and time. Some of those times seem kind of like they have a question mark. Well, the question marks are because the agent used their key service to access the lockbox going in, but didn't use the key service when exiting. So a couple things. If the Super E-Key application is on and the agent drives away, once they drive away, I think it's 1,500 yards, and then Super will notify the listing agent that the showing has ended. And that way they can contact their client to go back home. But sometimes the showing agent will close the application, doesn't allow it to update, and then they drive away. And then Super has to guess. That's why you see the question mark. Super has to guess that the showing is done an hour later. So you as a listing agent can keep track of it, and then you can contact the agent. For example, Juan, the very top, just like, Juan, are you still at the listing site? And you can let them know like, oh, well, I saw a time in, but I didn't see a timeout. Like, oh, okay, my apologies. That's why when Juan see the second listing showed a time in and a timeout. And what I mean is you use the Super E-Key application to get in to take the key out. And then you did the same thing to lock up the door and put the key back in the key container. So that way it gives that listing agent an idea like, oh, okay, great. Juan is left for the day. He's the last agent showing the property. And I can tell my clients to go back home now. So it's important that we use the Super E-Key application to help the listing agent And so that way, ultimately, they can help their client. And the big thing, the last thing, is going to change the billing. So within Supra Web, you can be able to change your credit card at any time. So if it's going to expire, the credit card, yeah, just input it in. If the credit card was compromised, go and enter it in. If you want to give us a call, that's fine. You can call us, you can call up Supra. You can even update it through the Supra eKey application on your phone. Now, one thing I do want to point out is Supra creates the invoices on the 15th of every month. Then they charge the credit cards on the 16th of every month, but it'll show up maybe on the 18th or the 19th through your credit card company because it takes a little bit of time for it to go through. If you want to cancel the key service in the future for whatever reason, do notify us in writing, perhaps by the 14th of each month, before the 14th of the month, or you can call up Supra before the 14th of the month to let them know you want to cancel the key service. And when you want it reactivated, there's an activation fee, and we'll send you the documents to reactivate the account. So I've done a mouthful and covering Supra, and I hope that is giving you a little bit of information how useful this tool is. If you have further questions, you have my information there. I'm the Supra Key Specialist with the board, and we have another one, Ellie, and she can be able to assist you as well. But I've been around a little bit longer than her, so I've been the one tortured with the more unusual questions. So I may know those unusual answers that you may encounter, as well as Anthony. Anthony's encountered some unusual questions as well. So here's my contact information, my phone number, 714 area code 375-9313. My extension number is 239. Once again, the phone number is 714-375-9313. My extension number is 239. I typically work from 9 to 5:30. So go ahead and leave me a voicemail if for whatever reason I don't answer the phone. It's perhaps I may be in the office talking to an agent who walked in, or perhaps I'm on the phone with somebody else. You can also send me an email. I'm really good at answering emails as well. leo@ocrealtors.org. Make sure you include that S. Sometimes we forget it, and I don't get the email. So leo@ocrealtors.org. Now, one thing also on the right-hand side is Supra. Now they're open 7 days a week. Yes, Saturdays and Sundays, the days that we're closed, they're open 7 days a week from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The exception would be major holidays like Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Day, I believe Easter Sunday, and the 4th of July. So the 5 days, those are your days off. Because Supra's off, you want to be off because you don't want any drama. But if you have a problem, you want to give them a call immediately. And they're going to ask you for the eKey serial number, which appears on the top of the screen of your eKey application on your phone. With that, any questions, Anthony?
So far, I don't see any. Does anybody have any questions? Well, that was some amazing stuff, Leo. Thank you very much. Well, guys, gals, if you guys have any questions or any concerns, please feel free to reach out to us. Leo at ocrealtors.org regarding your membership or Supra needs. Leo is there for you. I want to thank everybody for attending today's class on Supra 101. And with that said, I want to thank everybody, and hopefully everybody will have a great and wonderful day. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.